Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to Power Spike. And this episode of Power Spike is brought to you by Trolley Sour Bright Crawlers, y'all. Just in case you haven't seen, they've been supporting the esports space, helping me out with my content. Now, we'll be bringing you a special segment every episode of Power Spike moving forward. So thanks to our friends over at Trolley Sour Bright Crawlers. Make sure to head on over to trolley.com to see where you can get yours. Because the multi-flavor sour gummy worms, I want nothing more than for you to chew their delicious sour heads and bodies to pieces. Won't come to you. You have to go get them. So make sure to go get them.
They are delicious. I mean, they will come to you if you order on Instacart or tag on some 7-Eleven with your Uber Eats order. There's many ways to get it done.
Yeah, or if you're part of the show.
Or if you're part of the show.
Get some opinions, join the show, and you'll get 9 bags of Trolley Sour Bright Crawlers. There it is.
Oh.
Very good. They are delicious, though. I just have a bag on my desk constantly now. So it's great. It's great.
Did anyone guess? I remember we asked to guess earlier.
Oh, based on our delightful new show colors.
Yeah.
Nobody guessed correctly. It was going to be really, really hard to guess. But now we've got the strong brand synergy. Thank you, Trolley.
Yeah, thank you, Trolley, and welcome. All right, another week of League of Legends. That means another week where myself, Monty, and Dom will be breaking down all the action across the world, which is a little bit smaller this week. Sorry, I still have the bright crawler right in the back of my throat. It's delicious. The LEC did not play. However, big stories all around the world. FlyQuest still flunk down. JDG drop a game to already knocked out IG. Drop a game and a series to IG. And T1 look listless, just absolutely listless in their series. So against Gen G. So let's start there with our first segment of the day. Everything is on fire for T1. All right, so the injury to Faker has slowed him down. They fired Bengi. Monty, we're going to you first, man, because
I'm waiting to hear Dom's take on the everything is on fire in T1, because everything is on fire. Obviously, Faker is out for a minimum of 2 weeks. Who knows if he's coming back? He's got to be rested up to at least play some of the Asian games in an attempt to not do the Korean military service by winning a gold medal. The questions are, how badly do they need him in order to potentially qualify for Worlds? The answer is quite a bit, it would seem. Bengi, their head coach and longtime Faker colleague, quit the team 4 or 5 hours right before they were going to face a match in Gen G. It was announced that he was not going to be coaching for the second round robin, but it was the same day as the first match of that second round robin versus Gen G, and they were coming up that horrendous loss to DRX. So it really seems like this team is just coming apart from the inside right now. And also, without Faker to be their shot caller, apparently they are incapable of doing any kind of macro or making decisions whatsoever.
Dom, it's that time.
Well, I gotta say, couldn't have happened to a better team. It's just it's perfect.
Couldn't have happened to a nicer fan base.
It couldn't happen to a nicer fan base. Originally, like the Trolley gummy worms, I was a little bit sour when T1 was doing well, but hey, the delayed reaction now, it's just super sweet to be a T1 hater. So I absolutely love it to see them all just fall apart. The thing that I love so much about it is, it's very hard for the T1 fans to keep their narrative about having the best player in every position in Korea, because now you see without one of the players, all the players look so much worse. And you can't put this all on Pobe. You cannot put this on fucking Pobe. Pobe is not the reason why they can't 3v3 dive, why they play mechanically poorly. It's not like, oh, there's giant mid gap in the games and Chovy's roaming all over the fucking place. Oh, no one can play because the mid laner is just so fucking gapped. It's like, no, the players just suck. I don't know what to tell you. Carry is just objectively not playing well. This is supposed to be the best player in the world. If this is the fucking best player in the world, I better start fucking playing again, because I got a job fucking coming for me. This is
Dom switching
the way he's playing. Just look at the 3v2 dive that they did in game 1 versus Gen G. How fucking uncoordinated is that? They have a Renata that no one is playing. They owner pats down. He then decides in a second clear to skip all of his top camps to hit a timing for a bot dive that isn't even there. He's late on the dive. Then they just go for some like egregious dive that just could never work, where they let the turret heat up and owner just gets one shot. Even with Renata W, he still dies easily. And the whole game is lost because now Peanut is just massively far ahead from not even doing anything. Peanut just got to like farm his camps and then he's just really ahead. Nice. Like Poome got solo killed in that game, but it didn't matter.
He got solo killed.
It doesn't
But
matter.
a lot of people get solo killed by Chovy.
it just didn't affect the game at all. He got solo killed. He came back. They just laned again. They were both like 100 CS at the same time. It didn't affect the game. The worst thing for that game was the fact that they just have no coordination in the 3v3. And we saw this get exploited by Billy when they played against Billy at MSI, where, owner is not bot on the right timings. And then this whole identity that T1 had about being lane dominant into bot dive with like the jungler and the mid laner, or maybe just one of them, that's completely gone. So I don't know like what the team is doing, but I don't think you can put it all on them just having a player change. Like, maybe Faker was just that good, but maybe he's like the one that's microing. He's like, no, you take the fucking turn, carry it, hit your skill shot. Like, maybe he's doing all that, but I don't think so. I don't think there's any player good enough to micromanage every situation in the game at the same time.
Right. And it also, they were not looking very good even with Faker on this roster, right?
Yes.
So it's not as though... Yes, they almost lost to Nongshim. They threw the first series against Genji. I mean, it's not even just
they
that.
Suck. They're terrible. I agree, Monte. 100% agree with you.
I mean, we were talking about this on this show where they didn't look good this split. But I mean, even the reversal from week 1 of the split where we got to see this matchup, and Genji like, they ended up winning, but T1 should have won that series realistically. But also, I mean, even Zeus, he was getting solo kills on Doran in that first week of competition. Doran was playing badly. Now we get to see Doran not dying in a series versus T1, even though he has been bad in lane so far this split, even though he's redeemed himself in some late game team fights, especially on Renekton for Genji. But this is what we see when Doran doesn't actually die in the laning phase, and he was actually taking over some of these games. So I mean, if we've seen this reversal and this like degradation of form from Zeus, it is really disturbing. And I think part of it has to be just a confidence issue with T1. They're playing worse. They lose Faker, their primary voice and shot caller on this team. And shot calling has always been a really important part of this particular roster of T1's identity for the last couple of years. Because remember, they developed their identity as this team that plays pick compositions, this team that takes really aggressive Baron calls, right, at 20 minutes and sneaks out these Barons or tries to make plays if they're behind. They're a team that's played very well around vision traps and reading the compositional win conditions of their opponents. And that has completely gone out the window now without Faker being on this roster. So I don't believe that they're actually as bad as they are with Poby. I think some of this just has to be mental at this point in time. Because think about their position. They've made every single LCK final with this roster, but they've lost 2 of them. They haven't won one since spring of last year. They made MSI finals. They made world finals. They lost both of them, right? They didn't do well at MSI this year. They were really disappointing. And so, I mean, they did come the closest to beating JDG, I guess, but then losing to Billy was probably pretty demotivating. Now you lose your coach. Now you lose Faker, this legendary player. Honestly, it just feels like there's no hope left for this group of players on this roster, and that, they're just kind of gonna maybe possibly make worlds, but that's probably due to the weakness of the LCK rather than their own strength, and kind of just squeak out till the end of the year until there's a roster change. But it just feels like they're very lifeless.
Yeah, I think you're hitting the nail on the head, because from last year when I was in Korea, I remember there was a fan, not a mural, but fans buy ads for their idols, Monty, right? That's kind of like a correct statement in Korean culture. So Chinese fans bought a subway, like it was probably like 12 to 15 feet long, like ad of Gumayushi, like just pointing, and it said, "Good luck, Gumayushi," from your Chinese fans. These guys are so godlike in Korea because of how immortal they've been. And now they're losing a lot. They look very human. I'm watching Gumayushi's face cam as owner goes under the tower, fucks up the dive. They all die. And he's like, we are so far away. We're so far away from our form from years past.
I mean, even this
why am I even trying?
To Dom's point, they looked really good on some of these bot dives earlier this year. I mean, this was the whole thing, or even the mid dives with Lee Sin and Gragas. Faker innovating the Gragas. They would do great mid dives, really good coordination in the middle of the spring split, and now here we are. They look, it's like they forgot everything they knew how to do. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, clearly they're tilted. When you look at the cams, they look really dejected on the face cams. And even like after the games, it's like they have that like embarrassment to be there. The same look that Vitality had, like where you play so far under the level of your like expected performance that when the cam goes on, it's like they have it's like, oh, please don't even look at me. Like don't see me in this form. It's like they're naked or something. Like it's so weird to just see their reaction to just being even like at the venue. So I gotta say, man, I really hope it continues. That's all I've got to say. I really hope that this continues because this is content for days. I mean, I could VOD review. I've started like my own nutsack series where I just hate on them for every single time they lose, and it's just endless content at this point. So
I mean, it's even more embarrassing in a way because if you watch the game 2 of T1 versus Gen G. I mean, Chovy was just straight trolling at the start of that game. Like, Gen G doesn't respect them whatsoever. Chovy literally knew where owner was and then inted in the mid lane with Annie, and then they came back and won anyway. But they clearly just, I mean, they're playing with them. They're happy gaming right now.
Chovy is just not good at Annie.
But he also didn't have to walk up in the mid lane when he knew where owner was.
He's hugging the wrong side of the lane. It's such a weird mistake because it's like you literally
I don't
just
think
saw
it was a mistake.
You don't think it's a mistake? You think he just inted on stage or what?
I think that Gen G does a lot of happy gaming when they're very confident in their ability to win. And if you had just seen if you were up 1-0 in the series, Gen G does this a lot, and you had seen them lose to fucking DRX 2-0 this week, maybe you're not taking this game entirely seriously. Just gonna put that out there.
Okay.
We love happy gaming.
Still shit on them.
Man, I will say though, I feel like I've heard Monty give this like having a deja vu moment. Like, they should have won. T1 should have won, but they didn't, blah, blah, blah. But this is the first time in a while where Monty gets to do that, knowing that his beloved KT roster is sitting like way up there. Things are on the ascendancy. The Skaker guy's like gone. He's dead for all we know.
Look, this is the Monty timeline, okay? Here are fucking KT facts right now. Hashtag KT facts.
Hashtag KT facts.
8 best of 3s, won in a row. They have not dropped a game, so they're 2-0 in the last 8 best of 3s. Keen is definitely the front runner for MVP. This is my time. Dgon.
I can't wait. I just can't wait. I would not have watched KT if it weren't for you back in 2014, I think, probably around then. And now
I know we're supposed to be
9 years later.
Everything on fire with T1, but everything is not on fire. Everything is ice cold for KT. They're just dispatching their opponents with ease. They don't even look like they're in danger of losing any of the games that they've won, really. It's just very decisive. They played Breon twice this week. And Breon, I think, did the right thing in targeting specific, like they targeted BDD's champ pool in the first series, and then they targeted Cuz's champ pool. So we got to know like the depths of these guys' champ pools because we got to see like 4 jungle bans plus a Sejuani early pick from Breon, and then we get to see Skarner and Nocturne coming out from Cuz, and he still does well on these picks. So a lot of questions are being answered right now about KT, and they are just passing the test with flying colors. It is glorious.
All right, they just got to get it done. I think that's the last hurdle in Monty's redemption arc of KT. But in the meantime, everything
it's the best KT has been since 2018. Okay.
And how did that team go?
Hey, they were the second best team at Worlds in 2018. They just got eliminated in quarterfinals.
Yep.
All
I
right.
blame
Probably the
IG
worst.
for having a garbage group stage for that even happening. Fuck IG, man.
Yeah. I mean,
That's what
all I'll
JDP
say is it's
said.
also the worst T1 has been since 2018 as well. So it's perfect.
Ooh, nice.
The
There's
timelines.
they exist in opposite, in opposition to each other.
Exactly.
All right. Well, that is Everything's on Fire with T1. But like T1 and like Vitality, there's one more team that is also struggling and just getting destroyed. Some would say eaten up by the competition, which leads us to our first ever trolley sponsored segment. This is Devoured. Reminder that this episode is brought to you by Trolley Sour Bright Crawlers, and this segment is Devoured. It's on FlyQuest, who are just getting chewed up by the competition, just like you guys can chew up the multi-flavored sour gummy worms that want nothing more for you to chew their delicious bodies and heads into pieces, kind of like what the LCS is doing on FlyQuest. Thank you, our sponsors, Trolley.
Yeah, Trolley, maybe you should sponsor FlyQuest too. Get eaten by the competition every single week.
It's probably a bad time. They only have 2 weeks left of their year, so they won't get enough unless they want to sign like a really short-term partnership, like a weekend-long partnership. Maybe then it could work.
Maybe they could just become a solo sponsor of Vikla. You know what I mean? But I've been enjoying the very berry ones. These are delicious. Like I said, I just have a bag on my desk now, and I just I have a few throughout the day.
Speaking of
brings me
Vikla,
joy.
how prominent is Trolley in Korea? Because if they're not available in Korea, it might not be the best to sponsor Vikla because that's where he's going in 2 weeks. So.
Are you sure? They're available like globally. They've done a very good job.
So if they're over in Seoul, then you're good to go. We can sponsor Vikla. He can probably live view worlds and stuff, create some content for you.
There we go. Excellent.
He's actually speaking pretty good English now. I saw an interview with Dgon here, so he could be a translator even. Like he could do his own content, like awesome. Ashley Kang style during Worlds. Oh my god, it's perfect.
Maybe I will bring him, onto some content for Worlds because I'm going to be in Korea for Worlds this year, so I will be there. Perhaps that'll be an option. Awesome. It's actually shocking to me in Vikla's case that he was rookie of the split last year and then has now devolved into his current state.
Playing in a better region now. It is what it is.
Yeah. He almost went to Worlds. He was one game away from beating DRX and going to Worlds himself last year. It's really sad.
Do we have an example of a fall from grace like that? From being that good? Because we've had like players come in and stink it up, but not players that have like it maybe Crown. Right, that might be the other like 1-to-1.
He was good for a while,
yeah,
in NA.
But I mean that the fall was pretty. It was quick. It was like very quick. He went from Optic to CLG, had one good split on CLG, and then forgot how to play.
There's a couple that come to mind for me. Like Bang, I thought was playing really poorly. He went from like world champion to being really bad within North America. I think that was pretty extreme. And then I also think like Reignover, it didn't happen as quickly, but like Reignover's final splits, like he was not good when he played on TL and then CLG. Like it was a rough time compared to when he was considered one of the best junglers in the world in season 5. Piglet was always bad. It's not a fall from grace.
Wow. Piglet had a good year in 2013, but yes, he was pretty much bad for the rest of his career after that. His performance in 2014 was one of the biggest reasons why T1 was not competitive with the Samsung teams, or the KT teams.
Damn, well, and that's why he came to North America and graced our boy Dom and led him down the path of content creation.
Literally.
Well,
literally.
Hey, that's been great for your career, man. So I think you should write a thank you note for Piglet.
I will.
What will it say?
It was Piglet himself was also great in content and Breaking Point, so it was all good in the end. All right, let's. By the way, I want to as you guys as we talked about last week with FlyQuest, because obviously we just have to keep hitting this because their performance is just so bizarre.
Yep.
But I flipped last week, even after their 3-0 week. I said no. I'm sticking with the fact that these guys are still bad. I didn't flop. I don't flip flop. I just flip one time, and Dom was right. Dom was right. They were just going to continue being a disaster. I agreed with him after watching week 2. And I did not flop back after their 3-0 week. Now they're back to being 0-3 again, and they haven't solved any of their problems.
Yeah, it's that, Monty, but also they have a hellish, like an absolutely difficult strength of schedule coming up. Like they lost winnable games in the LCS, and now in their last 6 games, they might have 2 wins. They play Energy, EG, TL. TSM, Immortals, Cloud9. You get the Immortals win and maybe this Energy win to start the week. And if you lose the Energy one, you just might be mental boom for the rest of the week.
Especially with TSM and TL kind of trending up.
Insanity, man. Yeah. APA, man.
Yeah.
Put in Spyrax. Follow the trend.
What's so infuriating about watching this FlyQuest team is it's another team like T1 or Vitality that you can just tell is mental boomed because they have no trust in each other. You know what's I was watching the Dignitas game, and what was so crazy to me is that no one will like flash in to start a play on a gank. Like they refuse to commit resources because they have no trust that the other person is going to follow up. So they just do nothing instead. Like they don't get kills that are potentially quite easy to achieve if you actually commit 2 or 3 people to a play. It's just everyone stands there staring at each other, and then the enemy just walks away for free. It's wild to watch this team. There's no commitment.
It's really wild. I mean, it seems like their mentality right now is that they just want to sit back and play the game. And because they have like on paper better players, they'll eventually just win at some point by being better. But this point never happens in the game. Like they don't have good coordination around objectives. They don't lane particularly well. I mean, the whole idea of a super team is that you should have like 3 lanes and a jungler that are just like super ahead. And even if one of them falters, like it won't really matter because you'll just be ahead in other areas. It's not like when you watch J2G, their lanes never, like no one ever loses a lane or no one ever has a bad game. Like you'll see, Knight like miss ults or something, or 369 gets solo killed every now and then, but it doesn't matter because everyone else is just like doing shit. Like they played the game off. Oh, well, this guy died to a gank that he probably shouldn't have. Now we're going to do something on the other side of the map. They just keep the pace of the game because they have better players, so they're winning the lanes. But it feels like FlyQuest, they just want to like AFK and just win by default. Like somebody's just going to come down and just give them like just the game anyway. Like the LCS commissioner. Oh, actually, never mind. There's no LCS commissioner. Whoever fuck runs the LCS these days is going to go on the stage and just present them with the win for no reason. It's like, oh yeah, you're the better. We know you're the better player, so we just give you this win. Like, and they're going to end up in playoffs. It's really sad to watch them play.
What I loved about watching this Dignitas game with FlyQuest was listen to this composition. Renekton, Viego, Annie, Kai'Sa, Blitzcrank. You have to have somebody who is making a play. This is a hard CC engage composition. You have setup for Viego kills in every single lane. That means that somebody, when the gank comes in from Spica, has to engage. Like you have to play aggressively. You have to flash in. Stun with Annie, you have to flash in, stun with Renekton W, right? Or flash in for a hook, or do something. And Spica was just wandering homeless from lane to lane, and nobody would actually engage. And he also wouldn't use flash with his stun. So it was just like, they couldn't get anything done in this game, and then you just slowly bleed out and lose. Vikla gets caught out. He doesn't flash a very obvious Ashe arrow that is heading to his face, and then he gets killed, and then Dignitas gets Baron and the game is over. It's just shocking.
Yeah, I mean, there's some problems with this. Like, sure, they have like aggressive champions in their lanes, but none of their lanes actually like win. Like, it's so weird because when you pick champions in spots like this, the whole idea is that you're going to, like, for example, if you're drafting something like Annie, the reason why it was blinded for so long is that that you could normally get through lanes even if you're playing bad lanes, and then you have like an advantage in team fights. But FlyQuest, they don't have an advantage in team fights with their comp. They got completely outdrafted here. And then the lanes that they're supposed to win early, they can't actually win because of the fact that they're like counterpicking themselves with the picks. Like Renekton is a good blind, and normally the idea of Renekton is you pick it blind on like blue side or something, and then even if the team answers with Rumble, like it's fine, you'll get a counter pick somewhere else, or you'll be able to, you know, set them up. Like maybe you'll play Renekton Sejuani, so you know the guy can't play as aggressively in the lane, you'll have some gank potential. Renekton Viego is not a combo that works together super well. Normally you'd rather see Renekton played with like an AP jungler of some sort, or just a ganking like CC setup jungler, not a Viego, because you know when you go Viego Renekton, not only are you susceptible to things like Rumble, but if you pick this blind, you could end up playing into things like Orin, which are really hard to dive, and then suddenly they just build tabbies and your whole game is fucked. So in this game, I think it's really weird because the way they draft, it's like they're counterpicking themselves, so they don't even make use of the advantage that red side should have in theory, which is getting later picks. So somehow Dig is able to like blind Rumble, and it's like, nice, we answer with Renekton, we just counterpick ourselves, and then Impact can't do anything in the lane. You know, he gets solo killed by Rich.
Yeah, and he's dying solo too.
Yeah, he's getting solo killed by Rich. But then when you look at like the combo, normally when you play Annie, we've seen so much Annie from the LPL, so much Annie from JDG. You pair Annie with things like Wukong, you play them with things like Rakan as well. You want to play like multiple forms of engage. You want to have like 3 different engages, so the team can't just sit there and be like, where's Annie? Okay, mark the Annie. Somebody just like stand in front of him, throw some like, you know, harpoons at him with Rumble or something. Just keep him out of the fight. As long as we don't clump up for that guy, we're fine. You want to be able to have Annie, you know, engage from one side while a Wukong comes from another side, or like a Rakan goes in first and Annie can follow up. You don't want Annie to just engage every single fight, just walk into like 5 people and throw an ult. It's very easy to play against. So when I look at their comp overall, it's like the way they draft makes 0 sense. Like there's no reasoning.
I think this is definitely a playable draft as a pick composition, because it's reminiscent of a lot of what T1 has been doing for the last couple of years, which is that if you control vision well, and you can get the single target chain CC off, if you have an Annie and a brush, you can follow it up with a Blitzcrank hook, and then you get Kai'Sa in off of a W and a potential Kai'Sa ult, right? So
sure,
you can
if you're playing versus another comp, not when you're playing versus Ashe, you can literally just throw E and then see your entire
the hawk
position.
shot is a problem. The hawk shot is a problem. I grant you that. But I do think that this composition is potentially playable, but not in a straight up, it's not good in a 5v5. But the point of this is this. I agree with your Ashe point, but you also have to have strong objective setup and vision control in order for this to work, which they don't have. So how are they going to play this out, right? Would be the next question.
It's really hard because they're mega outranged by like Rumble ult, Ashe arrow, and Jace, these types of things. Then they also have the ability to shoot hawk shots with the Ashe, and then they have Daisy that can also face check. So there's so many tools working against them. Like I just don't understand how they consistently end up in such weird situations. And the thing that's so strange is you'll see FlyQuest go from playing Ivern, being like the first team on Ivern. That's something that they were using that, you know, was an advantage for the team. It allowed them to play more of their style. They're playing Tristana mid, whatever. And then, you know, Tristana starts getting banned, or they just lose the game with it, and then they completely 180, and now they're banning Ivern in some games. So it's like, do you guys just not play it anymore? You're banning it on blue side. And then here they play against it, and it doesn't look good either. It's just very, very weird to watch like how they decide on play styles, because you still don't know what they play. You still don't understand their vision for the game. They had 1 week where they kind of were coming up with the play style where it's like, we play like these supportive junglers and like 80 mids, and we're just gonna play to like play like Tristana.
Tristana gets banned 2 games this week, so that's not an option.
We're playing Tristana with like a Maokai and a Ivern, so we have like an AP jungler that like can set things up, and then we have like double 80 carry, so we just don't need to do anything. Then the next week they just play full on engage. It just makes no sense. Like it's not like they perfect one comp and then go to the next thing. I mean, you see JDG, they're still fucking playing like Annie Wukong. Like they still are playing this shit that they've been playing for like 6 months. Like I don't know. It's so weird to watch them play.
Well, they drafted Engage. I think that was going to be your point, buddy. They drafted Engage. I don't know if they played Engage, but they drafted
they really didn't even draft
Engage. Pick. They drafted a pick composition.
They drafted pick. They don't even have Engage. But then like Annie is also like an engaged champion. Like Annie wants the full on engaged fight with a Wukong Rakan. Like you don't have multiple combos. It's normally pick comps are played with champions that can like go in, CC one person, it's on like a 10-second cooldown, and then you just go in, you do it again. Things like Syndra, for example, like Syndra stun is really big in pick. Thresh Hook is really big in pick. Elise Cocoon, like these types of skills are the ones that you're going to like be orienting your comp around. But here they have like Blitz, which is in a pick comp, and then you have like Annie, which is in like a full-on engage comp, and then you have like the AP Kai'Sa, which is kind of like in a poke comp, and then you have a Viego, which needs engaged fights where you can just get a free reset. It's very hard to play this comp.
I mean, I just skimmed back through the video, like the whole match. I just skimmed through it in the FlyQuest. I was like, man, I remember Vulcan roaming mid and getting a pick there. He set up Prince, traded his life for a kill for Prince. So they did do stuff, but they were just behind in lanes. Dignitas had a gold lead the whole time. The whole game they had a gold lead. And then
they have losing lanes. They have 3 losing lanes.
And they didn't do anything when they had opportunities. Like they had an opportunity, had basically if Vikla and Spica had committed even just one of their flashes to stunning Jace in the mid lane on the first pass that Spica made through mid, I think they could have gotten the kill onto Jace. And then maybe you can open up the mid lane after that and get some roams down, apply more pressure. But they just don't, when they have these windows to do things, they just don't do anything.
What's the solution? What's the solution, Monty? How do you fix this? They've got 6 games left.
Like you can just tell that they have no trust in each other to make a play. I think that's the problem, is that regardless of what we think about the draft in terms of the strength, and I agree with a lot of Dom's points that it is very difficult to play a pick comp into some of these circumstances, you still have to try and play the pick comp. And I think to me, that's the biggest problem, is that they're not even trying to do the thing that they are drafting for. They're not playing to their own win condition.
Well, looks like this FlyQuest squad is getting eaten up by the competition. There's only 6 matches left for them to squeak on in.
I mean, it's going to be really tough too, because right now they're at 3 and 9. NRG's at 5 and 7. They basically have to beat NRG to at least close to within a game gap of them. They have to beat NRG and they have to beat Immortals. And the NRG game is the first game this next week. So if they lose that, they are in real trouble. And they've already played both their games against 100 Thieves. And for whatever reason, they get absolutely clapped by 100 Thieves bot lane whenever we see these two teams each other, which I just, if you watch any of the other games, that's what's so mysterious about this, is you think to yourself, oh, well, surely adding Vulcan, surely Prince and Vulcan can take out double lift and boost. No, they just get destroyed every time. And then what else is weird is all of the other games 100 Thieves play, they get destroyed in bot lane. Like, what the hell? Why is this one lane, the Busio double lift lane, just kryptonite for Prince? It's very weird.
Yep.
No.
I mean, it's Prince playing versus Idol. How can he win?
He gets intimidated by the double lift nameplate.
Yep.
But yeah, it's very strange to watch 100 Thieves play FlyQuest and then immediately just get smacked in the next 2 games of the week in bot lane, and you just wonder, how can this happen? How can these leads occur?
All right. Well, that is our segment here for Devoured. Again, thanks to our friends over at Trolley Gummy Worms. Get your tongue-twisting, mind-warping, sour thrills at trolley.com. And you know what? I'll have another one. This is my 3rd one. Someone said, watch out for your blood sugar, Dgon, since you just woke up. Too bad, blood sugar. I'm just going to be filled with raspberry, blueberry
deliciousness
in my bloodstream. All right.
Similarly to how Vikla was filled by Jensen's Jace Qs during the game.
Just peppered by shock blasts.
All right. Let's move on to the big chunk. It's time for the Galaxy Brain Club conversation. It's playoff time, almost playoff time across the world. It's playoff push time, definitely. So we're going to talk about our dark horse teams for summer playoffs across the major regions. Let's get into it. All right, let's keep it here and close it out. The LCS, 2 teams, only 2 will have the embarrassment of not making it. Immortals looking like one on a 10-game losing streak. 10. That's pretty brutal.
Yeah,
and then
it should be
2 games
should
out.
be 11, to be fair. If you think about Immortals, they had the first game where they looked really, really clean. The first game they played. And then the second game, they got absolutely blasted by CLG. They're down 10k gold, and then they ended up coming back and winning that game, and then they just put together like 10 stinkers in a row right afterwards. So it's crazy. They've been they've been in the fucking gutter, that team.
What are you talking about? This roster is so beautifully constructed. They switched out their best player, Revenge, for a weak side top laner, because really, as we've known, when you go all in on you put all your eggs in the tactical basket, that's when teams see great success. Who is supposed to carry this team?
I mean, it's supposed to be Kenvi. It's supposed to be Kenvi. Like, this is the team that this is the way you build if you believe that Kenvi is who he is in solo queue. You build a team where you have like a weak side tank top laner, a mid laner who's not going to like really win. He's not going to really lose. He's relatively stable. You know, you play some mages, whatever. And then a bot lane that's like decent. This is what you play. This is a team that's set up for Kenvi to really just, it's supposed to be the Kenvi show. It's supposed to be Kenvi playing Kindred, Kenvi playing Viego, absolutely like 1v9ing, you know, being really far ahead. That's what you're expecting. But I don't know.
Remind me who Kenvi's coach is.
His coach is, I mean, I think Kenvi is his own coach.
Okay. Because Xmithy is a coach on this roster. And I'm just going to put this out there. Maybe Xmithy coaching Kenvi.
they literally look the same. Like,
hey man,
that's true. Actually,
it's true. They're strikingly similar.
That's true.
All right, I'm gonna pull them both up right now. I don't know, Andrew, are you able to pull up two photos of them and just, even if it's janky, just pull them both up and put them next to?
All right, well he'll get on that, and we'll get back to that in a minute. But it is like, it just seems that based on Xmithy's legacy and play style, maybe he ain't the guy to coach a jungler carry, like a supposedly jungler carried team, right? He was never that guy.
I don't believe in any of that. Like, Kenvi is literally just playing scared permanently. He is playing so fucking scared all the time. Like, he doesn't do anything that makes sense. His pathing is like really strange. I mean, he wouldn't path this way even in a solo queue game. I don't know what happens, but this guy, he goes on stage and he just doesn't have that like competitive spirit. He's not there to compete. He's there to like, oh shit, like, all right, like, I'm gonna try to, let's hope that we win. I'm gonna try something new. Maybe we do something. Like, he doesn't go into the game like, I'm the fucking shit. I'm one of the best mechanical like jungler talents in this region. You know, for years I've been hyped up. I'm gonna go and show how good I am. He goes into the game like, just I'll play Sejuani and hide. It's very weird.
Don't hurt me.
Yeah, please don't hurt me, gaming.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, and you know, we were talking earlier, Monty, how worst junglers in the history of the LCS. Like, LCS has traditionally had good junglers, if not great junglers that people around the world respected at one point. Medios was, you know, one of those guys way back in the day. But I don't remember having as poor junglers since, you know, what did we say?
Iconic.
Tom? Iconic. And then Brox's run, maybe. And then after that, you know, we've all had good junglers. We generally had good junglers. I can't remember a jungler that bad because Tactical has been playing well. Yes, I agree. We've seen the Tactical Tristana train before, but he's played pretty well right now. We know Balulu can hold his own in the league. So it's on Kenvi, and Kenvi is just not allowing the team to function.
Well, just like, I mean, if Kenvi is actually this jungler, if this is who he is, then you need to have a carry top laner with the team. It's the only way the team will function. Like, Kenvi is just playing like it seems like he wants to be playing Sejuani Maokai. Like, that is what he defaults to. You know, we've seen some Viego come out in like terrible Viego spots and he just is useless with it. But all of his champions that he was like really, really good at, they're just nowhere to be found. He was a Graves player. He was a Kindred player, like a Viego player. This is what he was insane at in solo queue. This is how this guy was getting rank 1. This is why he was hyped up as such a talent.
Yeah,
there's nowhere to be seen.
He's turned into like a low economy jungler. I mean, he has,
but he fucks his own economy. It's not like he's like low economy because he's going to a lane and he's helping people out. He literally just like walks around the jungle and like clears poorly, and then he just ends up being behind. Like, he fucks his own economy.
That's fair. Right now, he actually has the lowest gold differential of any jungler at 10 minutes in the league, and not by a small amount either. Like, Blabber is plus 339. He's negative 329. So it's pretty bad. He also just doesn't, you can forgive some of the like XP or gold differences if they are participating, maybe getting like an assist on first blood or something like that. He has a 25% first blood rate. So what is he doing? He's not doing damage. He's not taking any farm really.
Yeah.
He's a very low gold percentage jungler. He's second lowest behind Closer. By the way, Closer, this is an aside. Closer has turned into,
oh boy,
this guy used to be the king of first blood. Do you know what his first blood percentage is in the summer split?
0.
How is that possible that Closer has gotten 0 kills or assists on first blood? What the fuck? Like this guy, he always had a very sus mid and late game, but his strength was at least he could get the team ahead. Now he's not even doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird team. Like, I think that right now, when you look at how their team is playing, it feels like you can only really go bot. And it seems like it's very hard to play when that's what you have.
I think partially it's because when we got to know Closer, he was the dominant voice on that team. Maybe but like he was the dominant voice on that team. Now, like in terms of like, fuck your stature, I don't care. But then he had Bjergsen last split with Doublelift. Now he still has Doublelift there. I think he's had to cater his tone a little bit and cater how he played the game. And I think he's a recovering Bjergsen jungler and getting back into form now to dominate again. So I want to see more of Closer with this roster before we make a hard judgment on maybe he's not the first blood king anymore. I mean, he's not, but before we take it away,
he's
completely.
A first blood peasant now, man. It's first blood serf. It's getting dominated. Nope. How is a jungler? No, seriously though, how is a professional jungler where your team has 5 wins? You're almost a 500 team. How do you not get first blood one time in 12 games as a jungler?
That's a good question. Because this guy and his brother have gotten it 25% of the time. You want to throw that out there?
Bring up the picture. He does look like Xmithy's younger brother. That's true. I agree with you.
Hey, right? They're not the same person, but definitely it's the lips, man. It's the lips. All right, and the eyebrows. It's the lips and the eyebrows. I love my Filipino boys. God, Kenby, come on, get your shit together, man. Just finish the split strong,
bad, guys. You're
just
making
finish
Dgon
the
look
split
bad.
strong.
All right, so we were supposed to be talking about Dark Horse teams for summer playoffs, and instead we're talking about how bad Immortals and 100 Thieves are. So let's start with LCS. Do we believe in the APA version of Team Liquid? Do they have an outside shot potentially? Any TSM or Dignitas takers?
Give me Dignitas. I'll take Dignitas.
I'll take TL over them. I mean, I think APA is decent. I mean, I think he's better than. I mean, he looked good. I don't know how he'll fare versus the top tier mid laners, but I think he's interesting. He plays his own champions. He has his own view on the game, which is important. People have played against so many Azir players at this point. Were you coming in and trying to do that, being Ruby 2.0 and just coming in playing meta champions and being slightly worse? That's never going to get it done. Whereas I think APA has like a different angle where now people don't feel as comfortable picking like the Azir, for example, because he can play Ziggs and he plays other champions besides for that. He has like Asol that he's always able to play. He's always capable of playing Asol. He's always capable of playing Talia. I mean, he just has a very unique champion pool. So you have to really prep him, and I think it gives him a different look. I thought Harry just I don't know. He was tough to watch. He didn't have any real strengths as a player.
Yeah, and also in your interview, what did APA say? He was just kind of tossed in there. I watched that one, Dgon.
Yeah, only 2 night block scrims. That's it. So literally,
remember, he came in after 1 game at the start of the week.
Yeah,
right?
That's so weird too. Like for success, unless a player, I think last split, like a Blaze Olive, maybe the way that he left and was like, "Hey, I just can't do it anymore. Mental health isn't there." That's different. And we don't know what. I didn't ask him how or why. I didn't ask him why Harry stepped down or why the change was made. He just said, Dodo and Spawn pulled him in the room. They said, hey, you're starting. And then literally the team was like, what do you play? We'll draft around it. So obviously, I don't think they're going to draft that way anymore. But now
Tristan is a meta pick in his first game. So
Ziggs is it?
he had a good Tristana game. So I mean, I think the issue was with Team Liquid was with this roster was always going to be if Pyosik is performing at a kind of and Core JJ are performing not at a very good level, right? You have two rookies in Yun and Harry who are going to have to, you have to get some carry potential out of your mid lane or your ADC, right? And so it just seemed like this was a very weird way to build a roster, which is like rookies as your two most important standard carry players. And the upside was like, I mean, Pyosik was not very celebrated even after his world championship win. So it was going to have to be like Core JJ roaming on the map with Pyosik to prop up potentially Harry in the mid lane, but he's never really had very good performances. And at least with APA coming in, to Dom's point about the Ziggs, it wasn't just that he played Ziggs, it's that he played confidently as Ziggs. He was playing really aggressively and like trying to go in and get kills and make an impact in the laning phase and working together with Pyosik to make that happen. And so there's just a level of confidence in his play that I found very refreshing because it at least feels like he's trying to carry.
My question is, if you're FlyQuest, I know we're going back to FlyQuest. If you're FlyQuest and you see that substitution make sense, you don't know if maybe APA is a better player than Harry, but you know that Harry's struggling. It's the same thing with Vikla. Just put in Spyrax. Yes, Vikla's probably a better player in totality.
Maybe they will.
He's broken. He's broken right now.
Yeah, but who knows? I mean, like they might have a weird dynamic with the team. You've got to remember that there's like 3 Koreans on this team, and I know, like, as somebody who played in a team with like a hierarchy, if you bench Vikla, who knows how that affects Prince? Because they came in together, they came to the team together, and obviously like the identity of the team is like being a pseudo Korean team. Well, whereas like the issue is that with the Harry substitution, you could go back and it probably wouldn't be like a doom situation either way. Like they could play APA for 2 games. If it didn't work out and APA looked really bad, they can go back. FlyQuest is in absolute crunch time. Whereas like, because they only have 3 wins, where TL had, I believe, 5 at the time. And they had like Immortals coming up. So it's like, I mean, you'll probably beat Immortals even if you have like not a great game. From APA. So I think that this is like just a different circumstance. Also, like, you have the like Korean coach, you have Song. So I think that I think it's really hard. Yeah.
Sorry, I know I keep bringing us back to FlyQuest, but we're talking about Dark Horses.
Well,
here,
also, FlyQuest has had a very successful win rate in scrims, so I think they just keep hoping that it's going to translate to the stage. And they were just coming off of a 3-0 week where I didn't think, as we discussed last week, that they were going to turn it around, but they might have thought that. Prince was player of the week last week, right?
Yep.
So maybe now's the time you make that substitution, but I don't think you make that substitution heading into this week. Not after you 3-0.
All right. For me and Dignitas, I mean, you have Rich putting together. Frank is figuring it out. That's Tomo, for those of you that don't get to interview Filthy Frank.
Okay.
Yeah. Frank, how many Asian Franks are there? None. Let's build this guy up. Filthy fucking Frank Tomo destroying the league, man.
Nice. Call him Filthy as well. That'll go over well.
Yeah, because his plays are dirty. Sometimes dirty good, sometimes dirty enter. Like whatever. It just covers.
He's been having a good. He's been having a good spring.
I like that.
Yeah. Let's see. And then the thing that they brought up on the broadcast at first, I was like, this is dumb. This is dumb. It's the what is it? The gauntlet. It was Jensen 8 worlds in a row. And I was like, this is dumb. This is not a thing. But you think about it, you got Cloud9, Evil Geniuses, Golden Guardians. There's that 4th slot.
To be fair, last year he was not a great contributor to Cloud9 going to Worlds. He was the worst player on that roster. He had like 3 champions that he could play.
Bad Summit and Fudge Mid. So like he went to Worlds, and you know what? He spent the first split streaming, hanging out with Buddy Fufu, and living the life. So he got paid and went to Worlds, and the streak is alive. Not even Faker can say that. There's no one in the world that can say that 8 Worlds in a row. And you look at the top 3. Okay, cool. We got the top 3. And then you got TL with a rookie mid laner now. You got TSM with, I think TSM is like actually formidable, but we'll see. You have 100 Thieves that can't fucking get their shit straight. And then Energy, who randomly wins, but also painstakingly lose. There's a chance here that they go back to Worlds. Anyone with me this? Any Dignitas blues? Any free mouse pad lovers?
No. Fuck no. Going to Worlds. I mean, maybe as a 4th seed, they could end up winning versus the 4th seed from LEC.
All I'm going to say is Dignitas versus Team Heretics. Rich puts Evie in the dumpster.
Oh, he would. The problem is the rest of the map. Like,
if it's Heretics versus Dignitas, either way, that storyline's pretty good. Rich shitting on Evie or Evie ending the streak for Jensen. Like that's actually better. That's actually better.
All right, we won't have to worry about that. Heretics will be done soon enough.
I agree. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
All right. Okay.
I agree. I think Liquid at least looks promising with APA. I mean, with Summit's performance and Piochik playing better this split, they needed a push from somewhere else. And honestly, honeymoon periods are a thing. And if you're coming off a high of APA not only winning you 2 games, but not even dying in those 2 games, sure, the opponents weren't the toughest, but that's a big confidence boost, and that does trickle out for the rest of the roster. And if I'm Piochik, I'm at least happy with APA's performance because he is committing to plays. You know what I mean? Like, he's clearly listening to what the team wants to do, and he's just committing instantly.
How can he do that? He's not Korean. You need to speak in like really complex sentences in order to say gank mid, like
flash now.
Yeah, like,
no
flash. Like, it's not that hard to communicate. It's really not that hard to communicate. You don't need to like write a fucking dissertation as to like how mid lane could be gankable in like 15 different states. It's like, is this guy killable? Like, yes.
So
right.
Are you on the TL train then too, Monty?
Yeah,
Dark horse for the championship.
I think. Oh. Yeah, Dark Horse. I mean, look, we're not saying they're going to win, but we're saying like a team with an outside shot.
Sure.
I think they have an outside shot.
All right. There it is. 2 TL votes, 1 Dignitas vote. Sorry, TSM, 100 Thieves fans and Energy fans, I guess. And FlyQuest fans that still think they might be going to playoffs. It's tough. If FlyQuest make it in, do we count them in? Do we count them back to their old form, or do we just, don't trust?
It depends on how they do it. The problem is even when they were winning, they didn't look good.
All right. I agree. I think that's fair. All right, let's move on. Let's go to LCK. Let's hit the LCK here. Obviously Gen.G, Rawlster, D+ dominant. Gen.G and Rawlster dominant.
Rawlster.
Yeah, they're not dark horses. Those are the teams we expect to see in the finals right now.
All right, now's the time, T1 fans. You guys don't get to be the favorites, but you get to another role called dark horses. I know that you don't really know what that means. That means you're not doing so well right now, but you hope they're going to do well later.
You think they have you think they have an outside shot at taking the title? If Pobe, look, all I'm going to say is this: if Pobe, who is 0.6 KDA in his first 4 games, including 2 games against fucking DRX, right? If Pobe lifts the LCK trophy, LCK is fucked at Worlds. So you don't want that to happen.
Yep. Oh, I mean, I do want that to happen, but
not if you're a T1 or an LCK fan. You don't. So yeah, I don't think that's a realistic thing. I think the biggest dark horse now is Hanwha with the jungler change. Grizzly's been pretty good. Yep. Viper is still a monster, by the way. Viper is still, his stats are crazy.
They're just assembling a team full of animals.
the Hanwha menagerie.
Yeah.
That's good, Dom.
So just for context, because I don't think everyone knows, Clid got into some personal trouble, so he's now
in this fucking creep.
He's in a gray space. He's in trouble. So that means they had to find a jungler. I remember we were, maybe not us, but a thread about like which junglers could come fill in for the squad. Is anyone available? They go with Grizzly, and now Hanwha, they get themselves a win last week. And let's see if they can find some stability in this roster, especially with T1 struggling.
I mean, third place in LCK is completely up for grabs right now. There really isn't a very clear cut beyond the top two. D Plus has had their own struggles. When Canyon's popping off, it looks amazing. When he's not, they look like shit. With Hanwha, at the very least, they always had a very strong late game this year. And so their issue was a lot of the time finding early game leads. But Grizzly's very mechanically adept, and he's been surprisingly good for a rookie. And if he can continue to develop through the end of the split and solve some of these issues, because people will say, well, Clid was the shot caller. Really haven't noticed that much of a difference. It's not like T1 where the difference is extremely evident. And he's had some like really good individual pop-offs on carry junglers like Viego. So I like the direction that Hanwha's going. Now, if they were to take a title, we would probably have to see a pretty serious meta shift into the playoffs where Zeka's champion pool becomes more enabled. I mean, that's just how you live or die kind of by meta with Zeka as your mid laner. And so if that happens, they could theoretically win. Because Viper's just really fucking good. And if they can shore up some of their early game weaknesses, their late game team fighting is generally pretty strong. So I think it's hard for them to win versus KT or Genji, but I think that they have certainly an angle in order to get there.
How do we feel about God, I want to keep saying Damwon D+, because I feel like when you look at the schedule that they have left coming up, it feels like they're scaling into the tough matches. They play Lit Sandbox, bottom of the table. They play a struggling T1 on Saturday, so we don't know if Faker will be back by then or not. But
probably
T1
not, right?
Pretty probably
2
not.
weeks.
Yeah. They said he's out for 2 weeks, so it'll be the week after this one before he's back at minimum.
And then they, especially last week, they took care of business against Kwangdong and DRX. So nice, you got those wins. Then next week they play KT, and then last place, Fredit, our friend, OK Savings, Brion, who for some reason they lost to, like earlier in the split. That's one of
they lost because Deft wasn't playing.
Yeah,
with that roster, you still I don't think you should still lose to the last place team.
Deft has been the most consistent player on that team this year, so it's rough without him. And they win most of their games by playing through bot when they decide to do that. So I think it's really hard for them to win without Deft in the roster. But yes, to your point, like also here's the other thing: Brion is a much better team than their record indicates. As weird as that sounds, they actually are way better than their record would have you believe.
So Nongshim and Sandbox are like the actual worst teams.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks for clearing that up. Either way, how do we feel about Damwon D+ moving forward?
I don't trust Kana. I just don't trust him at all. I think he's so bad. Like this guy is like perma losing, and they even try to set things up for him in draft by Canyon being like, all right, we'll early pick Sion, and then they're going to counter pick Sion, and then I'll take the Sion, and then you counter pick whatever champion he picked up.
And then also Canyon is like, and then Canyon will be like, I'm going to path top and help you instead of helping Deft, the guy who wins us games, and then we lose. The problem with Kana is that, as Dom says, they set him up beautifully. They put so many resources into him. Sometimes he gets ahead because of the resources they put into him, but it never results in a Kana carry performance. Yep. That's the problem. Is it never results in him carrying.
I don't know. He's just doomed. He says, he's a former T1 player, so he's the dark cloud following him. The Lord just doesn't want him to succeed.
Faker just places a curse so that when players here, that's it, guys. I figured it out. It's Faker is a dark wizard, and whenever if you have played with Faker once, if you don't play with Faker again, you're just doomed.
Closer Teddy,
except for Cuz, we'll
and Peanut
and Peanut.
Yeah,
but that's why maybe it wears off after a long enough period of time. Maybe it wears off after a long enough period of time.
Spectral Detective Monty on the case.
So his teammates are cursed because usually it's supposed to work that when you leave T1, but Faker left T1 this time. So the curse is really strong amongst the 4 players that were remaining.
That's it. I would find it more interesting to figure out which ones have dispelled the curse. We could say Impact. Impact has had a great career.
So I think the key is that you have to have been a good player before you played with Faker, which Impact was. And Peanut was, right? So the curse only affects you if you were a rookie on Faker's team.
I see. All right.
Makes sense. Checks out.
Checks out. Sorry, Dom. Sorry, Dom, for those years. All right, let's move on. So our dark horse pick here is Hanwha for LCK. We'll keep an eye on that. Let's move on over to the LPL. Dom, you could take our lead here as we had some interesting series happen here recently. JDG with a random loss. Also, I felt like they didn't look great against FPX either. Like they won and it was 2-0, but there were mistakes by 369. It's Knight getting solo killed. It felt like there were a couple of mistakes, or Knight dying in the mid lane. I don't remember if he got solo killed, but dying in the mid lane a couple times. So fill me in. Where are we at here with our dark horses?
Well, I don't think there's a dark horse that actually can win LPL. I think the 2 top teams in LPL, BLG and JDG, are like so far beyond the rest of the teams. And also when you see like the way that JDG drops games now, it literally just feels like they're trying to like be ahead of the meta. Like they're using time to invest into like Ivor and Rel, like these types of junglers, and it feels like they can turn it on super easily. It doesn't seem like, oh shit, like they're like, what's happening with them? I don't get that vibe from watching JDG play.
It's also that they only have to make top 2 in order to,
and they've pretty much had that secured for like weeks.
Yeah, they're 2 games ahead of LNG and top esports. And the only thing that matters is just being top 2, so you get the maximum amount of buys within the playoff system. So I agree with Dom that it's really better just to use their time to kind of experiment right now. Plus, what's their remaining schedule? It's
WE. I
mean,
the main
Rare
thing
Adam,
is
Thunder Talk this week. I mean,
it doesn't even matter. So head to head doesn't matter in China. What matters is game score. So unless they go like 0-2 in all their remaining series and lose them all, it's like pretty much impossible for them to not get top 2. And
because they're plus 16 and LNG is plus 10 right now. So, and the LNG didn't help themselves because they didn't 2-0 earlier today either, even though LNG's remaining schedule is pretty easy. You expect JDG to win at least one of those, in which case they just lock.
I mean, they'll probably win the remainders, like all their remaining series, to be honest. But
looking at just in my experience, there's just so many games in regular season LPL that evaluating teams off of, I mean, every team is just going to have some fuck up performances, and that's just how it is. That's just how it is in this league.
Yeah, I mean, you see a lot of underdogs winning, so I don't think that there's actually a dark horse in LPL. To win. I think the main thing that's really interesting about LPL is like the worlds race, like who's gonna actually make worlds, because the middle 4 to 5, like after JDG BLG, because that it feels like JDG and BLG should be like guaranteed to make worlds essentially. They both have so many points, and like it feels like one of them is destined to win. So those will probably be your 1 seed and 2 seed. It's LNG, Top, Weibo, OMG, and then maybe EDG creeps up into that. But those 5 teams are significantly closer in skill than like the top 2 teams are to them, and that's where you're going to see like a lot of just the absolute fist fight for the final 2 world spots.
How you feeling about the form of your OMG boys?
I'm fine with their form. I mean, the thing about OMG is like they're losing, but they're not losing because like the meta is really bad for them. They're just prioritizing. They just need to rework their priority on the champions that are really OP. Like they're just playing into Kai'Sa a lot, and Kai'Sa is just fucking insanely broken. So they keep on playing into Kai'Sa, and it's bad for them. And other teams have like figured out, or just more ahead of like how high prio. It feels like OMG is constantly one step behind, where they're like, all right, like we were getting Cassante on like R3, so this time we're going to try to draft it on like R1 or R2, and then it's just getting B1'd by the enemy team. Or they're like, okay, we can play Kai'Sa, we'll just early pick Kai'Sa, and it's getting first pick before they can even get their hands on it. So it's more that they just need to rework their priorities and probably just start banning Renekton. But like OMG has good setups. Like they still have like the things that make them just a like top 6 team at minimum in China right now. So I'm not super worried about how they perform. They're also like in really good shape to get that top 6 spot. And after they lost to Top Esports, that was essentially out the window, which was like it was a 2-1 series where once again it felt like OMG. I mean, if you look at OMG, how many games are they just losing to Kaisa? Like Jackie Love Kaisa, 1xN Kaisa. Like they just keep on losing to this champion over and over again. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this champion starts getting banned because it is just that OP.
Yeah, a lot of the other top teams, like KT, prioritized it really heavily this past week again. It is the best teams. I agree with Dob. Are definitely the prio on this pick is rising substantially.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that OMG they just need to like refigure out their draft priority on these champions, and then they'll be completely okay.
Okay, how about this? We won't talk about the 4th seed, but who gets the 3rd seed? You can give me a couple of teams. Is it just LNG and top fighting for the 3rd seed, and then the 4th seed is everyone else that makes playoffs?
I don't think so. I mean, I think OMG could easily fight with those teams.
Well, it'd be hard for them to come back at this point to actually secure.
Are we talking about for Worlds, or are we just talking about like 3rd seed? Because 3rd seed and 4th seed don't matter for playoffs. I thought you meant for Worlds.
Yeah, I meant for Worlds.
Okay, yeah.
Then yes.
All right. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you watched, we'll talk about the top versus OMG series, but it was quite close, and it was a very interesting series. So I think it's very believable. That's why I agree with Dom's point. The middle of the pack is what's so exciting. I really don't believe in Weibo, but the rest of them I think have a level of a shot, and there's some really interesting strengths and weaknesses across those rosters. I'm just happy to see top doing better than last split. That pleases me.
Yeah, there we go.
I mean,
Rookie has a chance. He has a chance. KT gonna be number 1 seed.
He's gonna get trolled by
Worlds.
Also Tion looking suspiciously good this split. It's all setting up for some. It's the inevitable Tion trolls in playoffs and destroys Rookie's Worlds hopes.
No, he'll get to Worlds. Tion will find a way to get to Worlds, and then he'll just troll Rookie at Worlds, and it'll be a question of if Rookie is good enough to carry the team out of like the first couple like BO3s.
Yeah. All right, let's close it out here with a look at the league that had a nice little break, nice little summer break, I guess we'll call it, before their group stages. Fuck this naming convention for LEC. Let's head on over to LEC. We got our 8 squads here in it. Just a refresher. It's G2, Fnatic, Excel, Heretics, BDS, SK, Mad Lions, and Koi. Split up into their 2 groups, Group A and Group B, G2 Koi, Heretics BDS, and then Fnatic SK, Excel, and Mad. I think we touched on it before, Monty, on who gets out of the groups, but give us a dark horse to win the LEC.
Right. So it's not going to be G2 or Fnatic. I do think that, keeping in mind that BDS was a team that did nearly take the spring split, I think they still have a really decent chance in these playoffs, and especially versus Heretics, because remember the last or the only time we saw Heretics versus BDS was the emergency substitution of Agresivo, which is like, I mean, if you want to really pound on Heretics' weakness, it's about playing with a super aggressive top laner who runs summoner spells that have really big kill and all-in potentials, like we can see them do on Evi. And the meta hasn't changed. I mean, obviously, we're not going to see as much Zeri now, but I think that the hyper carry meta in bot lane is still really well suited to Crown Shot. And so this is an opportunity for BDS to kind of get their shit together and take a stab at another, final.
What do you think, Dom?
I think Mad Lions is my obvious dark horse. I mean, they literally were in the same position last split and ended up winning the entire thing. And they seem like they're a team that like will have confidence going in. Like they can always tell themselves that whenever they get into this situation, they'll be like, hey, we were even worse last split entering, this group stage, and we were able to win it all. So I think they'll come in and they'll play pretty well. Also, I think they're an interesting team when it comes to best of 3s and best of 5s because of the way that they like draft and because of the players on their team. Like they just have different priorities than other teams. I mean, Niski obviously can play like all the roamers, Gragas, Annie, like all that stuff. But then also, I think like Karzu's been in good form, and Hilly is just somebody who's really annoying to play against. And especially if the meta is becoming like Braum, Nautilus, Rel, like this is the meta for support, and we're no longer in the Enchanter meta. I think that's just a direct buff to Hillsong. So even though they didn't play well, I'm gonna pick them as my dark horse. I think they could easily like run it up, get top 3, win the split, do whatever.
Yeah. Also, Thorin made this point, which I thought was good too about Mad Lions, which is that they basically locked up their participation in the group stage very early on in the
Week
round
2, day
robin.
1.
Yeah. So, they've had some more room to experiment, and famously, teams with Mac Mad Lions as an org and Mac as a coach have done a very good job of kind of dialing back the practice when it's not super critical. And so they may have taken their foot off the gas a little bit to give the players a break. Now, does that excuse some of Niski's questionable performances? Maybe not. But they do. They have ramped up, to Dom's point, when it has mattered, right? They have ramped up.
Looking at these LEC rosters, I feel like all of them have such a claim to the throne. Is that the? Yeah, I think that's the phrase, because I want to see Yankos and Heretics prove everyone wrong. Stay on it. You got the firepower of VTO. When you look down over at the core, the last little group of Koi with Marong Larson still there. Comp has been, he's had moments where he's been great, but, can they turn it on and find their form at the right time? We've called out at one point Exakick and Das, one of the top bot lanes in LEC this year. Maybe not right now, but this year they've had the opportunity to carry before. And then the points that you guys both brought up with Mad Lions and BDS, I think Excel's the only one where I'm like, this feels fake. I can't trust this.
I don't know. I think Heretics feels real fake as well. I think they found some angles in order to enable VTO, but we're going to skip 2 patches now. And so, like, some of the Zeri shenanigans will probably fall off. Some of the Yumi shenanigans will probably fall off. And you still have the Evi problem. So I really think that Heretics kind of has to reinvent themselves, because they're going from 13-11 to 13-13. And that could be really challenging for them.
Yeah.
That could be really challenging. Which also brings me to my next point, which is that Heretics versus BDS is the last Free Nation match of the week.
Nice.
On Esports Bet. So what that means is, if you bet on this match, we're using our referral code, you can get an additional 10% profit up to $100 USDT or its equivalent in DJT for free or another cryptocurrency. It is great time to do that, especially since BDS actually has odds over 2.0 right now, which I think that's a sleeper. And by the way, we've gotten all of our previous match of the week right. If you guys were smart and listened last week before Faker, it was announced he was out, you got 1.5 odds on Gen G. That was crazy. Also, as an aside, you can get 3.0 odds on Nongshim right now versus T1, which is that's pretty hype as well. Just put that one out there. They almost lost to Nongshim with Faker, so you can imagine what might be happening there. As usual, sign up bonus 50% up to $100 or $100 risk-free first bet if you sign up. So head on over to Esports Bet. Also, I'm sure Dom will be guiding you through. He's been very successful with his wagering so far, and he'll be back on the LEC live views with that, right, Dom?
Yep, I will be. Last week I had a little bit of a down week, but we're still up about 3,000. Using $100 unit size, so we're up 30 units so far this year. Just betting these games. One thing that I've learned a couple things. I like betting a lot on game time of teams that I believe not to be good. So if we end up, if you think BDS is struggling and you think Heretics is not a great team at closing out, look for game time overs.
There you go. Dom with the props here. But yeah, it's very good if you follow Dom's lead. Obviously, he's been killing it. So
also shout out to Andrew changing the banner, finally not covering my face. Thanks, man. I always feel like I was like
our production getting better, improving every week.
There it is. Thanks ESB for making our production better. I join you though, Dom. It's Mad Lions. Mad Lions is my dark horse here for LEC. They've been there before, and like most of the time when we pick something safe, it's the go with what you know, and Mad Lions being in this position feels very familiar. All right, those are our dark horse picks for both playoffs and worlds across the multiple different leagues. We'll check back on in it as the playoff formats progress and we get into the actual playoffs for said leagues. All right. Closing out here with our certified banger of the week. I thought it was going to be the upset. I thought it was going to be IG JDG, which was a very messy. It was fight. It was a lot of fight, and there was some throwing, and I was like, this kind of feels like higher quality LCS. But no, this week we're going with OMG versus Top Esports. So all our OMG enjoyers, get ready. You're in the spotlight. Let's get to it.
And this is a time, by the way, guys, to bust out your freeze pipe. That's right. They're back. It's not, if you haven't seen the match yet, you're not going to be watching it live. So you don't have to get all hype. You can just relax with the freeze pipe. All you got to do is throw that glycerin chamber in the freezer an hour before, and you will get that smoke cooled by over 300 degrees. They've got bomb stab rigs, bubblers, pipes, anything you want. You can get at thefreezepipe.com with their code LFN at checkout. You'll get 10% off your entire order. So there you go. You can just chill out and watch some top quality LPL OMG versus Top Esports. And you get to see what Dom was talking about earlier, which is Wukong Annie teamfight synergy, which is very fun to watch.
Also, I remember running into some of you fans over at Raleigh, North Carolina, saying you bought the freeze pipe. You and your homies bought the freeze pipe. You get on Discord. Yeah, take a hit using freeze pipe while watching Power Spike. If you have helped us out with our products like freeze pipe, please let us know in the comments. It helps us a lot. It helps us keep going here on our shows. So again, thanks to our friends over at freeze pipe. We want to show them how much we and our community appreciate them supporting us. So make sure to do that. All right, let's dive into it.
And yes, Twitch chat, bro, first gambling, now smoking. What's next, strippers? Sure. I'm down, man. Look, man.
Okay.
I'm just going to, Pornhub did try and sponsor esports in the past. That was, they actually had an esports team for a while. I'm down, man. I enjoy.
Didn't even know they had an esports team. What?
Yeah, they did. They did. They
in what game?
Oh, what was it? It was a long time ago.
I'm looking. I think it was Rocket League.
Yeah, I think it was.
It was Rocket League or Counter-Strike. Pornhub.
I celebrate all human experiences, guys.
Perfect.
I don't judge. I don't judge. You live your life.
Oh,
it was YouPorn. It wasn't Pornhub.
YouPorn.
It was YouPorn.
It was
That's
YouPorn.
right. It was Team YouPorn. You guys are right. It wasn't Pornhub.
Wow,
they got free
for what team? What team was it?
It was a Counter-Strike tournament, I think.
Damn. Okay. All right.
Team YP was the name of it.
Yep.
Team YP. Okay.
Yeah, Team YP. I'm disappointed that Team YP's growth is stunted by this decision, not to mention the effect that this will have on our roster of players. Claire Fisher said to Games Beats, yeah, Claire, play that role. Make them feel bad. That's
all right.
So funny. All right, sorry.
OMG versus Top Esports. Truly the YouPorn of League of Legends.
Nice. I was like, Monty, how are you getting out of this one, man?
No, it was great. I really enjoyed this series. It was really back and forth. I think it was a very surprising win for OMG to start things off. They kind of came from behind, had some really excellent team fights. You got to see some champions that we don't necessarily see that often in the meta, like, Cream's Silas and Akali, which are a little bit less common these days. It was very fun. It's a very fun game. Also, we got to see some really cool dives and jungle pathing in the second game of the series.
Yep.
It had everything.
And Jackie Love dropped almost 20 kills in the first 20 minutes of this game. He was 4 items on Kai'Sa at literally 20 minutes into the game. They they tried to get a pick on Kai'Sa where Jackie Love is just doing the usual solo sieging the tier 1 turret or a tier 2 turret. It gets hit by everything, and you just realize you're like, wait, he has a GA. This guy had 3 items plus a GA, so he has 4 items at 20 minutes into the game, and OMG just lost off that. But once again, I think OMG just needs to alter the way they draft. We're doing a lot of things like early picking Cream's champion, which I think is a mistake. He doesn't need to be playing Nico. He can play into Nico, and they can play a different game. They can play They can play to leave Cream a counter pick. He can play the Silas, Akali, Kiana. Like he has the entire roster of champions, and yeah, they have to figure out Kai'Sa Prio because it's something that they can play, but they're just never getting it on their team for some reason.
I really enjoyed this series because it was such a, like, every game was very, very different from each other, and you got to see so many like different kinds of skill expression. Like game one was a lot about team fighting and tracking ultimates and summoners and figuring out when each team could win. It was really back and forth as a result of on objectives as a result of that. And game two, the pathing,
The jungle pathing was huge.
The jungle pathing was so interesting. So if you are like a macro fan like me and you like watching the early jungle pathing, they did a really interesting invade for Tien off of Viego, and then had basically what happened is they invaded from red side to blue side on the bot quadrant with red buff, and Tien takes Raptors while Jackie Love and Mark leash enemy red buff. He doesn't use smite until he gets to Krugs, and what this does is that it allows him to gank bottom incredibly quickly and pick up a kill down in the bot super fast, and then the game just snowballs from there. But I had never seen anybody do this before, so it was really cool to watch.
Yeah, this is I mean, I assume that you would be a Tien fan. I mean, if you like Peanut, Tien might as well just be LPL Peanut. Like he's the guy that will just play these
he's burned me too many
junglers.
times. Well, not that Peanut hasn't, I suppose. But
yeah, I mean, Peanut, he's literally just Peanut. That's what I mean. Like he has to say he runs it down in big moments, just like Peanut does. He normally does really well domestically. They have really good pathing, limited champion pools, relatively bad mechanics. Like they're the same player, man.
I do, but I really enjoyed the start of this game, and then as you say, it was like a crazy Jackie Love Kai'Sa carry performance, where you rarely see players get to high teens of kills in League of Legends games, and this is just Jackie Love like popping off, getting triples and quadras everywhere on his own skin, right, on the Kai'Sa. So it's really fun. It's very fun to watch.
All right, that's your certified banger of the week. OMG top esports over at the LPL. That closes out today's episode. Just a little bit of news that kind of came out. Affects something I said. Yeah. Diamond for Dignitas is getting benched for the worst part of Counter Luger Gaming. Poome is going to be joining the Dignitas roster with Tomo.
You know what I thought was so crazy is like I didn't even see this on Reddit. Like how little do people care about LCS where roster moves, mid-season roster moves don't even hit the first page anymore? Like
that's 9 minutes ago, right? Wasn't it 9 minutes ago? How long ago was it? It's 9 minutes ago.
Oh, it was? I thought it was 9 hours ago. Okay, my bad.
9 hours?
Yeah, I thought it was 9 hours. My bad then.
Okay. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure I would have had that.
I mean, to be fair, this is one of the least hype roster changes. Like Diamond really has been struggling.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like he was dying a lot to be the engaged for the team.
Oh, it was 9 hours ago. It's 9 hours ago.
Oh, it was 9 hours ago. All right. Well, then there you
which
go.
is also such a weird time for like them to leak it. It's like 1 a.m.
1 a.m. 4 a.m. Eastern. Yeah, it's very strange.
Yeah.
Well,
but I'm surprised how little people care. Like normally this will at least be on Reddit. But yeah, I don't know.
That's a bummer. I had a pretty good interview with Diamond, who gave me like 2 inappropriate stories as well to use, kind of like the.
He's a great personality, but I mean, it's not just. I mean, there've been a lot of like mechanical misplays or weird engages from him. I mean, it has.
He would make a really good coach, I think. He's
That's
just,
true.
Like he's really smart about the game. He's just not good enough to play in LCS, but then he's like too good for NACL. So whenever he goes down to NACL, he's always like looking like he should be promoted. Just really weird. He's somebody who's been playing for a long time too. I think I first played against this guy in scrims in literally like season 2.
Whoa.
So, yeah. Like he's been competing. Yeah, his first team was Dirt App Gaming in September of 2012.
Dirt App Gaming. Holy shit. That's a throwback.
So he's been playing for a long ass time.
Well, I don't know. I just at 6-6, the team's doing okay. They've had really good performances. They've had worse performances. I feel like you ride it out, but a roll of the dice here by Dignitas, who, feeling themselves after they got Rich right, after getting Armit wrong. And, I guess we'll see what happens here. Okay, cool. Let's see how this one plays out. Monty, you've got a bajillion fucking shows going on our last Free Nation network.
Yeah, it's I am doing 6 shows as of this week. So man, what's coming up for me? I have Summoning Insight later this week. There's a new Monty and Wolf show out where we talk about everything that's going on with T1. Power Spike, I do Nerd Legion with Doa. And we have an episode coming out probably tomorrow-ish in the next couple days about Dial of Destiny. So we watched the new Indiana Jones movie.
Nice.
And then we'll be back on Star Trek and Secret Invasion and Witcher, and then probably Twisted Metal later this month on that one. Starting a new movie show with Thorin and Richard Lewis. So both Nerd Legion and the new movie show, which is going to be called Foreplay.
Okay.
The number 4, guys, but although we would also take a U4 sponsorship, just saying. We're leaning hard into it. And that's going to be a movie show based on genre films. So our first genre is going to be cosmic horror. And so we haven't talked about the concept of the show yet, but we'll do it right now, which is that basically why it's called Foreplay is we choose a genre, select 4 movies from that genre, and therefore you can watch along with us over a month, and we'll do an hour-long discussion of each of the films that we select. So it'll go from more popular stuff into some really like niche stuff. So cosmic horror is the first genre with that. We're recording it on Thursday, should be up probably early next week. And that's also on the Last Free Nation Culture channel. And then 4 Horsemen, whenever that comes out, there probably will be a 4 Horsemen in the next couple weeks. So yeah, in addition to that, working on the sponsor angles. Thank you very much to Trolley. God bless you. And yeah, that's what I'm doing. It's a very busy time. I'm also trying to leave Los Angeles forever, so I've got that going for me as well.
Yeah, you're super busy, and I like how I was laughing because I'm like, oh, Monty's predicting some sort of dumpster fire happening in the next 2 weeks.
I mean, I know.
All right. See you in 2 weeks.
Here's a spoiler, guys. In about a week, you'll see an announcement in League of Legends.
Boo.
And that announcement will be very interesting. So there you go.
All right. I don't know what it is. So no spoilers from me. Tom, you're doing the grind, brother, right?
Same old, same old.
How
Nothing more to say.
How about that intro video that your guy made for you on Twitter? The nut sacks. That was pretty good.
It was great.
I like that one.
We've got a new intro, a new themed intro for whenever I watch OMG as well. So,
all right,
yeah.
Well, keep your eyes peeled on Dom's content as well. I had 16 interviews this fucking week. Next upcoming week, I'm probably gonna do like 4, but this week I had 16. So head on over there.
Holy moly! And they've been great guys, by the way. Dgon's he's up in the production value, getting some really good answers out of people. I've been watching him.
Thanks, man. Yeah, like generally, people have been opening up there at the end. The stories at the end about old teammates have been really funny this week, including Gory calling River a fucking liar about how disgusting their kitchen is and how it was actually River did it wrong. Spica talking about the good old Reggie TSM days.
Nice.
If you haven't seen the Spica one, please go watch that one. Spence Guerin is in like 2 of people's stories. One with Rich. Rich is just, I mean, whatever. I'll tell you Rich's one so you don't have to watch it, but you can watch the rest of Rich's interview because the MVP candidate, he was like, I walked into the room and I saw this balding man. And I was like, who's that on our team? And then I realized it's Spence Guerin.
He's balding?
Yeah, bro. I was like, what? He was like, yeah, we hold Spence Guerin and that whole TSM roster in high regard in Korea, and I had no idea he was balding or something like that. I think it was just the buzz cut, but he used balding. Yeah. So
he's balding.
What we're learning is how much character some of these players have, and it's been really cool to be at the forefront of it. So please help out, support, and again, thanks to Trolley for all their support with those things. So, all right, that'll do it for here from us. We'll be back next week with another episode of Power Spike as the world of League of Legends continues to turn. We'll be covering it all. We'll see you next time.